On today's edition, we focus on the vital intersection of climate change and gender. Across many regions, women farmers bear the brunt of climate impact. Join us as we look into how current climate policies addresses or fails to address the unique challenges faced by women farmers. We also explore the reforms are needed to build resilience and ensure that adaptation strategies truly support these women at the front line of climate change. Joining me now to share expertise on advocating for climate policies that protect women farmers is Wakilat Oyiza Okeji, member Sofon FCT. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Good evening.
And to our esteemed listener, the telephone lines to make your contributions are 0915 091 0482 or 0915 091 0483. You can send your questions on WhatsApp to 0910 250 7579 0910 250 7579. We're also live on Facebook at the ICIR. Don't forget to include your name and location. So to begin with, can you tell us, what is the relationship between climate change and women farmers specifically in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you for that question. As you know, women farmers contribute to 70% of the agricultural production in Nigeria, especially the subsistence farming population. So, we produce wheat, we produce maize, rice, and cassava for the consumption of Nigerians. So, these crops are heavily impacted by climate change. We have drought, we have uneven rainfall, we have deforestation, we have the land being excessively tilled, and inavailability of fertilizer and all of that. So with the impact of climate change, you expect that food security is highly impacted, because these food products that are staples in Nigeria are the food that every Nigerian consumes. You and I, we have either consumed one of those products that I have mentioned today: wheat, bread, rice, our general food in Nigeria, cassava for almost every other thing that we do. So, and if this is heavily impacted by the climate and climate change, everybody should be concerned. That is the relationship between us as women farmers, that we produce these crops and not yielding enough also impact on food security in the country.
All right, so you were talking about women being impacted by climate change. The question now is, how are women in the rural areas being carried along in this advocacy?
Okay, like we said, information is key, right? And if information doesn't get to the rural women, then there's nothing they can do much about the issue at hand. So they need to be informed, and not only be informed, they need to be trained, and extension services need to be made available to them to be able to adapt to this effect of climate change.
Okay. I'd like us to move on to the next conversation, but you can part of this conversation by joining us live on Facebook at the ICIR, or you can call the number or make your contributions on 0915 091 0482 or 0915 09 0483. That's the number to make your contribution. So basically, when you're talking about policy making and involving women in the rural sector, what are some of the gaps that exist in these policies regarding gender responsive climate adaptation, and how can they improve better support for women? Sometimes when these policies are being formed or shaped, these women sometimes are not being involved, but you would hear that XYZ research has been done in the grassroots level, but coherently, what are some of the gaps? You know, you've been involved in SWOFON and all, but what are some of the gaps you've noticed that is regarding this policy and are regarding gender responsiveness and, of course, climate adaptation for women?
Okay, really, will I even say gaps exist in policy? But inclusiveness is what, and implementation is where the gap really lies. Right. Most of the time, when these policies are made,
yes,
they are just made at the round table where the big bosses do the decision and the papers to go through and adjust to that.
Yes.
And also, sometimes the policies are fantastic, they are good, and if well implemented, they would have greatly enhanced the livelihood of women and reduce the impact of climate change. One of the areas that I really want to look at in the policy formulation, yes, like I said, is basically around implementation. So you find out that, okay, we know that this climate has really impacted the environment. Yes. What is the government doing about it? We have adaptive strategies like afforestation, bringing climate smart crops to farmers and all of that. They are, if you go into the books, yes, they are embedded there. But when you get into the farm, the farmers are not feeling this, especially the women farmers, especially the rural woman farmer that doesn't have access to this information. Yes. So implementation at the grassroots level is what is really hindered in the policy, the gap that I can feel so far.
All right, so talking about implementation, what are some of the roles that women farmers, communities, and policymakers play in advocating for and also implementing effective climate adaptation strategies at all levels?
Okay, that's why I will appreciate Center for Investigative Journalism. Yeah. Like, you're giving us voice to say, okay, maybe they've not heard.
That's right.
Now they have to hear.
That's right.
The pain is real. Our crops are not as yielding as before. The lands are not as fertile. The soil health is heavily impacted by climate change. There is erosion. There is even the land grabbing. That is real, and that is huge on us. We have land. If you want to practice climate smart agriculture, you cannot invest in lands that you don't own.
That's right.
You understand? Because you know the policies might not favor you at the long run. You understand? You have to sell this land, but you have to not even sell because it's not yours in the first instance.
That's right.
So the power that big can grab the land from you. So all these policies are supposed to encourage women to own land, to have access to land. You understand? The policy should give rights to women, ownership to land. Yeah. Then if there is any strategy to improve on the soil health, to practice climate smart agriculture and every other things that will make food security a thing in Nigeria, we will have to advocate seriously. And thank you to platforms like this, yes, that give voices to women, yeah, because this is a form of advocacy. We are letting the government know that the issues are real and there are strategies to relieving the effect of climate change.
All right, one of the major challenges women face in Nigeria and globally, of course nationally, is being captured at the ICIR's website. If you want to learn more about the struggles of these women and even healthcare issues, go to the website of the ICIR. You're going to be seeing a lot of women voicing out. So the good thing, you're also acknowledging that we've been using this platform to advocate for women farmers across the country. You talked about how women farmers have been having some kind of like issues with the implementation of the policies, them being involved in the policy making, all to when it's being implemented, and some of the challenges. The next question I want us to talk about is how can financial, technical resources be better mobilized to support women farmers in implementing adaptation strategies? Because most women actually do have issues concerning, for instance, you cannot, what's that thing you said again? You cannot own a land you don't have, or something. And these are like the big challenges women farmers face. So how can financial and technical resources be made available to support these women?
Yes, resources. One of the resources that can support women is making sure extension services reach the grassroots women.
That's right.
Because when these extension officers are in the community, what we expect is that women are being trained on how to adapt to all these climate issues that we're talking about. So that's one of the resource gap. And there is a policy on the number of extension services, extension worker to number of farmers. And it's in the policy. But is it implemented? I think it's supposed to be one extension farmer to 1,000 farmer or what, but I don't think we even have one extension farmer to 10,000 or 100,000 farmers in Nigeria if you do the equation. Yes. So I don't have the numbers, but there is in the policy, and I am sure that if government look into this alone, it will solve a lot of problem. Another thing that we are also thinking about as is the land rights that I said. So now we have policies that say women have rights to land, but in the real sense, do we have that capacity? And that's where financial resources also come to play. Yes. Like if you have money to buy your own land, you can keep it. You understand? So ownership by buying, if government can create hubs for women to say, okay, this land, I'm dedicating it to just women farmers in this community. So they sell at a very low price, because eventually it's a gain for the country.
That's right.
We produce, we give back to the community and the country at large.
All right, you're tuned to the network service of Radio Nigeria, and the program is SPARK, brought to you by the International Center for Investigative Reporting and supported by the International Budget Partnership, IBP. We have been discussing advocating for climate policies that protect women farmers through adaptation strategies. We'll go on a short break now, and when we return, we'll be taking your calls for questions and contributions. Please stay tuned.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
And we've been talking about how women can be involved in policy making. The telephone lines are open for you to make your contributions or ask questions. The number to call are 0915 091 0483 or 0915 091 0482. I call the numbers again: 0915 091 0483 or 0915 091 0482. That's the number to make your contribution. And don't forget that we are live on the ICIR. Do ensure you leave your name and location. So as we wait for people to call us, if you're in any of the villages, the grassroots level, you know, a woman farmer that has been thinking of how she can be involved, this program is brought to you by the International Center for Investigative Reporting with support from the IBP. So let's talk about some of the things that happens at the grassroots and what SOFON has been doing over the years. And like I said earlier before we went on our break, if you want to learn more about the struggles of these women, even in the grassroots level, go on the website www.icinigeria.org. You will learn more about most of their challenges. We've reported women from Nasarawa, women from other northern states, and we've noted their struggles and what the government is trying to do. But kudos to Sofon. Sofon has been doing an amazing job. So let's talk about partnership. How has the partnerships been so far? You working at Sofon, what are the CSOs also doing with local communities that have proven effective in advancing gender inclusive climate resilience?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. So one of the reasons why Sofon was formed was to give structure to women farmers.
Sorry, what's the full meaning of Sofon?
Okay, Small Scale Women Farmers Organization in Nigeria.
All right.
So it's a coalition of cooperative of women farmers across the 36 states and FCT.
Okay.
So what's one of the partnership that happened that battered Sofon was Action Aid Nigeria, thinking that okay, we needed a structure for women because they're scattered in different locations.
Yes.
So what can we do to bring them together so that their voices are heard together and actions are taken together to address their challenges? So that was how Sofon was battered. And now we operate in all the 36 states and FCT. So Sofon as an organization is trying to adapt to climate.
Yes.
By ensuring that farmers within the organization and even extended to other farmers are trained
Yes.
on some resilient strategy like agroecology that is going back to the basic, how our forefather did it, yes, so that we are able to not impact negatively on the soil, rather protect the soil health and enrich the soil. So by that doing, we are adapting to the effects of climate change. We are also being able to access through our organization. We are also being able to access organizations like yours to speak for us and also say, okay, this is what we want. And through the organizations too, we've partnered with government. When there is distribution of input and all of that, they recognize our organization. Though we don't have enough, but it's a good starting point that we are even recognized and called to the table some of the times.
All right. Remember, you can call these numbers 0915 091 0482 or 0915 091 0483. I call the numbers again: 0915 091 0482 or 0915 091 0483. And tell us what you think or ask our guest any question related to the topic. You can also send us your questions via WhatsApp on this number 0810 250 7579. We are also live on Facebook. Okay, we have a call. Yes, hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening and welcome. Yes.
I'm Ibrahim calling from Buhari.
Okay, Ibrahim from Buhari.
Yes.
All right. So, do you have any question for the guest this evening?
No. I'm just calling to just make comment.
Okay.
Not
Yes.
question.
All right. Go ahead.
It's a very welcome development, more especially to women. If you look at Nigeria, you look at women are not mostly engaged in farming, but this program will enable women to encourage them and give them that will to farm.
All right.
So I say a very thanks to the organization and the government. That is my contribution.
All right. Thank you so much. Please stay tuned to the end of the program and make sure you listen next week, okay? Thank you so much. So we are expecting your call. You can also send a text or a WhatsApp message to the number 0910 250 7579, or you can call 0915 091 0482 or 0915 091 0483. So somebody just called to give you kudos, I mean, for what everybody has been doing, the CSOs, the NGO, even the radio station. I mean, it's a partnership and it's a win-win for everyone. And I know that more people would like us to be having more conversations. The more reason why you should tune in and also air your contribution. So I'd like us to talk about success stories. You've been working at 12 What are some of the examples of successful climate adaptive initiatives led by women farmers that could inspire broader policy changes?
Okay, so one of the things, and I've mentioned it before, is our training that we received called agroecology. Okay. Agroecology is using the resources, the natural resources, to farming in the best practices possible. That is like, for example, not depending on chemical fertilizer, producing your fertilizer yourself, and it's nutrient rich, and is sourced from the environment. That's and right. Is going back into the environment. And we've been told not to pack our crops, the residues or the remnants of the crops after harvesting. We stay back into the soil to decompose and enrich the soil. So all these are ways, and we plant cover crops too, like legumes, like beans. So those ones are able to help us enrich the soil. And tree planting too is something that is very much encouraged, so that the tree provides shields for our farms. And those are the kind of success stories. And like we said, we don't have access to bigger land. We are not doing commercial farming.
Okay, we have a call. Hello, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening and welcome to the program. Yes.
Yeah, I'm calling you. My name is Abdul Wahab. I'm calling you from Karsana.
Okay.
I've been listening to this program.
All right.
I'll first of all appreciate this organization.
All right.
They are really trying for their effort.
Okay.
My question goes like this.
Okay.
Everybody knows the security challenges in Nigeria now.
Yes.
I don't know because most of the women now they complain about this Fulani herdsmen. There are most times when they even plant, the Fulani will take a cow to go and eat up the farm, and render the farm useless to them. So they don't have anything to achieve from there. I don't know, in this situation, what are they doing about it, or do they have a means of tackling all these issues? Because that is the major challenge now.
Yes.
And they should also provide the means to encourage the women. Let them do more.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, I think our guest is going to...
interesting question, yes. Very interesting, because when you are talking about food security and you are talking about climate change, everything is interwoven. The Fulani herdsmen entering the farm and eating up our crops is still as a result of the impact of climate. It's still as a result of improper planning and excessive urbanization. All these things are what changed the routes of cattle in Nigeria, and there's no provision for irrigation dams where this cow can get water from, drought is coming from the north and it's really impacting on the southern part. So as the cattle moves to find food, it encroaches on farms.
Yes.
So this is why we said policies should be all encompassing, and that is why everybody needs to come to the table. If cattle are allowed to graze on crops that are going to feed eventually the population of Nigeria, it's still going to be it's still going to be negative. The population is going to be negatively impacted. So government should try as much as possible to marry policies that align with both crops and animals, so that it will be a win-win for all.
Right. All right, thank you for joining us on today's program, Wakilat Oiza Okeji. Today we understood the gaps in climate policies when it comes to protecting and empowering women farmers. We highlighted the urgent need for gender-responsive adaptive measures and heard the roles women farmers play. Communities and policy makers must create meaningful change. As climate change continues to reshape agriculture, ensuring women are supported is key to sustaining and resilient food system. Until next time, remember to stay engaged, informed, and ready to advocate for policies that protect those who fed us all. Many thanks to the studio manager Uche Enebeli, Tijani Abdul, and the producer Vivian Onowere, the engineer Hassan Usman, ICT Jonathan Aino, and the ICIR's ICT and video unit led today by Israel Soshini and Hirosu Vincent. I am Joey Shekunujimo. Do join us next week, Monday, 5 p.m. in the evening for another edition of Spark. Enjoy the rest of the evening.